Draw a rectangle whose perimeter is 18 centimetres. So we have a centimetre square grid, and we need to remember that the perimeter of a shape is the distance around the outside. So we could draw this rectangle here with a length of 7 centimetres and a width of 2 centimetres, because 7 plus 7 is 14, 2 plus 2 is 4, and 14 plus 4 gives us 18 centimetres as our perimeter. So we could have a rectangle 7 by 2, but we could also draw a 6 by 3 rectangle, because 6 plus 6 is 12, 3 plus 3 is 6, and 12 plus 6 is 18. Or the other possibility is to draw a 5 by 4 centimetre rectangle, because 5 plus 5 is 10, 4 plus 4 is 8, and 10 plus 8 gives us a perimeter of 18 centimetres. Complete the diagram below to make a shape that is symmetrical about the mirror line. So to draw the reflection of the shape to make it symmetrical, what we can do is dot our corners. So this point here is 2 squares from the mirror line, so we can go 2 squares in the other direction and dot our corner. Then this point here is 1 square from the mirror line, so we can dot the reflection, and this point here is 3 squares to the left, so we can go 3 squares to the right, and then we can join up our points so that we've reflected the shape to make it symmetrical. This scale shows length measurements in centimetres and feet. Estimate the number of centimetres that are equal to 2.5 feet. So we can see that the lines that show centimetres are each 10 centimetres, because we have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Now 2.5 feet will be halfway between 2 and 3 feet, so that's this point here. We can see that that's just a bit closer to 80 centimetres than it is to 70 centimetres. So I would estimate 77 centimetres. You also get the mark for 76 or 78, but you don't get the mark for 75, because if it was 75, the line would be right in the middle, but the line is in fact slightly closer to 80 than it is to 70. Now estimate the difference in centimetres between 50 centimetres and 1.5 feet. So 50 centimetres is this line here, and 1.5 feet is halfway between 1 and 2. So when we're finding the difference, we subtract. We have 1.5 feet, so I would estimate that's 46 centimetres, because it's not right in the middle, it's just a tiny bit closer to 50 than it is to 40. So 50 minus 46 is 4, so the difference is 4 centimetres. You also get the mark for 3 centimetres or 5 centimetres. Here are 4-digit cards, so we have 7, 5, 2 and 1. Choose 2 cards each time to make the following 2-digit numbers. The first one is done for you. So 52 is an even number, because numbers that are multiples of 2, numbers that end in 0, 2, 4, 6 or 8 are even numbers. Now we need a number that's a multiple of 9, so a number in the 9 times table, or a number that can be divided by 9 without leaving a remainder. So we can have 2 and 7, because 27 is in the 9 times table, or we could have 72 instead. Now we need to find a square number. So a square number is what you get when you multiply a number by itself. And 5 times 5 is 25, so we can have 25 as our square number. And finally, let's find a factor of 96. So a factor of 96 means that you can divide 96 by the factor without getting a remainder. So 96 is in what times table? Well, if we use the cards 1 and 2, 96 is a multiple of 12, which means that 12 is a factor of 96. Join each fraction to the correct decimal card. The first one has been done for you. So they've told us that 3/10 is has the same value as 0.3. And that makes sense because remember, with decimals, the first digit after the decimal point is the tenths digit, so tells us how many tenths we have. We also know with decimals that the second digit after the decimal point tells us how many hundredths. But we have fractions, so 3/5 and 3/50, which don't have a denominator of 10 or 100. So to change these to decimals, we need to find equivalent fractions. 3/5 is equivalent to 6/10 because 3 times 2 is 6, 5 times 2 is 10, and 3/50 is equivalent to 600ths because 3 times 2 is 6 and 50 times 2 is 100. So because 3/5 is the same as 6/10, that must be matched with 0.6 because the first digit, so the 6, shows 6/10. 300ths is 0.03 because the second digit after the decimal point tells us how many hundredths we have, and we have 300ths. And that means that 3/50, because it's equivalent to 600ths, can be matched with 0.06. The 6 is the second digit after the decimal point, so that stands for 600ths. Amir and Lara buy some fruit. Grapes cost £2.50 for 1 kilogram, peaches £1.99 for a box, and pineapples £1.40 each. Amir buys 2 pineapples and a box of peaches. How much does he pay? Well, first let's find out how much 2 pineapples cost. Pineapples are £1.40 each, and 2 times £1.40 is £2.80. He also buys a box of peaches, and a box of peaches cost £1.99. So we need to work out £2.80, so what he spent on pineapples plus £1.99. When we're adding a value with 99 pence, what's easier is to use adjusting. So £1.99 is just 1p less than £2. So if we had £2.80 plus £2, that would be £4.80, and 1 pence less than that is £4.79. So here, rather than using column addition, we can use adjusting. £2.80 plus £2 is £4.80, but because £1.99 is 1 pence less than £2, £4.79 is our answer because that's 1 pence less than £4.80. So he pays £4.79 altogether for 2 pineapples and a box of peaches. Now Lara buys half a kilogram of grapes and 1 pineapple. How much change does she get from £5? So we know that 1 kilogram of grapes would cost £2.50, but because she's only bought half a kilogram, we need to find half of £2.50, and to find half, we divide by 2. Now £2.50 divided by 2 is £1.25, and you might need to use short division here. Then she also buys 1 pineapple, so as well as £1.25 on grapes, she spent £1.40 on a pineapple as well, and that comes to £2.65. But the question doesn't ask how much does she spend, it asks how much change does she get. So we need to subtract what she spends from £5. So work out £5 minus £2.65. We could use column subtraction for this, or we could count on. So from £2.65, Another 35p makes £3 because 65 plus 35 is 100. And then from £3 to get to £5, we need £2 more. So altogether, that's a difference of £2 and 35 pence. So the change is £2.35. Or if counting on is a bit too confusing, you can just set the question out as a column subtraction and answer it in that way instead. So she gets £2.35 change. Holly says 1/3 of this shape is shaded. Is Holly correct? Explain how you know. So here we have a shape made up of triangles and a square, but the square isn't the same size as the triangles, and when looking at fractions of a shape, it's easier if our pieces of the shape are the same size. So it's a good idea to split this square in half so that it's the same size as the triangles. So when we do that, we can see that we now have 6 triangles and 2 of them are shaded. But how many sixths is the same as 1/3? Well, if we find our equivalent fraction, we can see that 1/3 is the same as 2/6, and we have 2/6 shaded. So Holly is correct. 2/6 is shaded, and that is equivalent to 1/3. The other way of working out this question is to spot that the 2 shaded triangles are the same as 1 square, and that makes 1 out of 3 squares, so 1/3 shaded. This triangle here that's shaded, if we rotated it, is the same size as this triangle here that's white. So moving this shaded piece over here would mean that we had 1 whole square shaded and 3 whole squares altogether, so that would make 1/3. Here are 4-digit cards. So we have 2, 9, 4 and 7. Use 2 of the 4 cards to make the number on the number line. So we have a number line with 0 and 800 marked, but to understand this number line, we need to know what each of these lines in between represent. Now to get from 0 to 800, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 lines, so we can work out the value of each line by dividing 800 by 4. That's 200 because 8 divided by 4 is 2, and then we need our 2 end zeros because we have 2 end zeros in our dividend. So we have 0, 200, 400, 600 and then 800. Now 500 will be right in the middle of 400 and 600. So we can see that the arrow is pointing between those, but it's closer to 400. So we need to use 4 as our hundreds digit, and then because it's closer to 400 than it is to 500, we can't use 7 or 9. We need to use the 2 in our tens place to make 420.